Hello, hello, hello out there. How is everybody doing this evening? How is everybody doing this evening? I hope everybody is doing well in Facebook land here. How everybody doing fine? Let me just get everybody together here in Facebook land and connecting. I just lost my audience, but I will find you back. Not a problem. We will get everybody back in 1 minute. How's everybody doing this Wednesday, February 19th? We'll get our babies back. Connect everybody up in Instagram land here. I lost everybody, but I want to bring it back. Everybody together real quickly here. Give me 1 second, Mundo. Sometimes we have difficulties. It's okay. It is all okay because you guys are definitely worth it. Definitely worth it. If not, we'll just have to get them later in Instagram land. Alrighty. Well, you know what? I might have to get them later in Instagram land. Somehow. Alright, you know what? Let's see what happens here. Well, we'll probably have to catch Instagram people later because we are having a little difficulty, but it's okay. I do not want to get the studio, and that's okay. We'll get them later on Instagram, man. They have to catch me on Facebook or YouTube on YouTube. Let's see. 1 second, Mundo. You know what? I don't want to get out here. Okay, well, you know what? We're having little issues, and guess what? I'm not going to worry about it right now. We are going to continue the way it is. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you, and welcome to episode 91 of Coach Dawn Allen podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Coach Dawn Allen podcast. Thank you very much, and we are sponsored by Stay Sexy Wellness. And tonight's episode is called Get Your Health Right and Your Money Tight in 2025. That's right, because we're going to talk about how the lack of money affects our physical and mental and spiritual health. I thought it was very, very important to, talk about that subject tonight. I want to welcome you. And if you would like to, I would appreciate if you can tell me where you are tuning from and putting it in the comment section. Thank you very much. And I really, really appreciate you guys rocking with me for 91 episodes. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. You just don't know, makes my heart feel so well that I know you would rock with me all this time. And I really appreciate the rockiness that you guys hanging up with me for 91 episodes. I appreciate it very, very much. So tonight, before I start, let me tell you a little bit about myself and what I do. I help overweight middle-aged women who feel unworthy, forgotten, unseen, go from being stressed out to having motivation, drive, and just by energy, just by making small changes in nutrition, movement, and self-care so that they can become fit, fine families and so sexy, loving themselves from the inside out. Yes, that's what I do. I love it. And how I started that, well, I was overweight and I lost 50 pounds. I felt stressed out, I felt overweight, I just felt sluggish, I felt bad. But it wasn't enough until one day I was sitting home and I got this nudge from the Lord to get on the scale. I got it on the scale. I saw that crazy number of 205 pounds. And for me, it was the number, the factor that bothered me because I told myself that I would never, ever, ever become 200 pounds. And I lied to myself. I lied to myself. I weighed 205 pounds and I don't know how I got there. I don't know how I got there, but I know I was there and I couldn't take it. So I said, Lord, what do I do? I don't know. So he told me to go to a computer. I went to a computer and I found a course, I found a school that resonated with what I wanted to do. So I went to the program and now I am a integrated nutrition health coach. And I decided, if I lose this weight, Lord, I'm going to help others do the same thing that I did. And that's why I'm here. I'm here to help individuals do what I do, lose 50 pounds. So if you want to lose less, okay, fine. But I want the people to I want them to live healthy. I want them to live long and prosperous. I want them to have a great quality of life. Because my dad, well, when he retired, you know, he he had a blood disorder, and end up what had happened was he had to go to the doctors every 2 weeks. I don't know about you, but I know when I retire, I do not want to go to the doctors every 2 weeks. That is not what I had in mind for my retirement. Not at all. That is not what I wanted to have for my retirement. Is to go every 2 weeks to the doctors. That's not what I want. So, with that in mind, that is why I'm here. I'm on a mission to help individuals who want to lose weight, who want to get healthy, who want to learn what to eat, how to eat, when to eat, to have a better lifestyle, better quality of life. Retire gracefully, and do the best they can now, do the work now, and so later on when they get older, they may bypass the chronic diseases. They may bypass them and don't have any worries at all. Or if they do get to that area, that part where they have some type of chronic disease, it may not be as bad, or they could be they'll be strong enough to go through it and have a better quality of life, and not go to the doctors every 2 weeks. That is not what we're going to do. We don't work no 40, 50, 60 years to go to the doctor every 2 weeks. That is not how. That is not our dream vacation. That is not our dream retirement. I know it ain't mine, so I know it ain't yours. I don't want that to be you, because that is why I am here this evening. So tonight we're going to talk about, like I said, get your health right and your money tight in 2025. Because the finances are something that we really is stressful, and that stress and health do not go together. So I had read something that it said the matters of finance are amongst one of the biggest stresses. Matters of finance are among one of the biggest stresses in America. So this came from a survey from Capital One. It said 77% of Americans stress over financial situations. 77%. That is a lot of people who stress about finances. So you know what? I think it's a lot of people, including myself as well, that stressing about finances. They want to keep their money right. They want to keep their money tight. You know, I know when my money's funny and my change is strange, I'm not a happy person. People are happy. When they get paid, they're happy, skipping, hey, all right. But when they're low, the money's kind of low, or the bills not getting paid, they have a different beat. They're not skipping around that much anymore. They're kind of like sad, depressed. Mm-mm. So so I decided, who else would I bring to the community but our Tony Smith, Anthony Smith, who is our financial budget and money mastery coach. So I'm going to read his bio, and then you're going to know why I am bringing him on this evening. Okay? I'm going to read the bio. It says Anthony Tony Smith is a financial budget and money mastery coach. Yes. Who created the Tony Smith Dollars and Cents podcast in the fall of 2023. I love that name. I like that name. It's like dollars and cents. I like that. He is a fourth generation native of Washington. I'm sorry, a native Washingtonian of the District of Columbia. He spent his entire 30 years professional years in the public service working with the D.C. Superior Court and federal criminal justice. All right now, he has a unique story that he shares on his podcast in assisting others to personally grow, develop, and master the necessary skills to budget successfully, grow their finances, and their business affairs. You definitely need that for sure. Tony asserts that most people who assume responsibility for household income can learn to develop the right mindset to not only gain focus and clarity with their finances, but also to be creative, align their goals, and discover their life purpose in accordance with what has already been divinely ordered by God. Yes, sir. Amen. Of God's understanding. Yes. His Dollars and Cents podcast airs every Wednesday evening, 5:30 p.m. on by Facebook, Anthony Smith and Tony Smith Dollars and Cents podcast. NIGM Smith 4500. Thank you very much. Well, with that said, it is time to bring on Mr. Tony Smith, our financial budget and money mastery coach, and let it tell him about himself, his story. And here we go. Here he is right now. We bring him into the studio. Hey, Mr. Smith, how
Hello,
you doing?
John Allen. It's an honor to be on your show today.
Well, it's an honor to have you here. It is a honor, sir. So, can you tell us your story and how you started with your podcast and with your business? Tell us all about you. So,
Okay. I It's been a very interesting life journey.
hmm
One that actually was of significance 10 years ago when I
hmm
lost my wife of almost 40 years.
wow.
We had both talked about what life might look like when one of us transitioned. We knew what we wanted for each other, and I totally agreed we jointly agreed that we wanted to move forward in life, continue to be happy, continue to serve others, continue to love people.
hmm
Uh, I found in my post journey after her demise, getting involved in personal development. And as a result of that, I learned that there was reason to gain mastery in other areas in your life that would even make you more of a better person.
hmm
And when I found the community that we're both involved in now, I had a discussion with our mentor who asked me how in the world I could make it living in Washington, D.C., since the cost of living was so astronomical. And so I shared it with him and I told him about, measures that, my wife and I had taken and the commitment that we made, some of the struggles and hardships
hmm
that we had experienced. He said, I think if you sit back and reflect on exactly what you said, you have found your purpose. And that purpose has everything to do with budgeting successfully and money mastery. In my story, I share on Dollars and Cents the idea that while my wife and I were both very focused on making sure that we budgeted consistently and we took into account every dollar that we brought into the household, it was a situation that worked well for many years, although we had to also deal at the same time with her health, which a majority of time was challenging. And there came a point in time a little over 30 years ago where her health was so out of whack that we had no less than 15 specialists trying to help her.
Wow.
Our budgeting system was challenged to the point where we had to now address paying 15 specialists.
Mm.
And the money was already tight on one income, which we had agreed to. Uh, and we were trying to figure out what we could do. We decided that we were going to honor our bills, but in doing so, we could only make minimum payments. So for those first couple of months, those 15 specialists got $5 a piece. Nobody sent a check back. No, no collectors call. But we also knew that there would come a point in time where we were going to have to do something more serious. So we inquired. The specialist told us it was in our best interest to file for bankruptcy. We talked about it and we bit the bullet and decided that we had to file for bankruptcy relief.
Mhm.
We did so. That we were also told at that time that filing for bankruptcy, that you probably would have on your credit report bankruptcy blemish for 7 years.
Mhm.
Uh, we thought about that, challenged that, and we said, when we look at our whole track record, we have been pretty much riding consistently up until this bump in the
Mhm.
road where we had to file for bankruptcy. And I would say that approximately 4 months after the bankruptcy, we were in dire need of other transportation.
Mhm.
We happened to go to a dealership where my wife's nephew was a salesperson.
Mhm.
And he said, regardless of what's going on, come in here, we're going to put you in another car. We were able to establish credit with that particular dealership and
Mhm.
get in another car and to demonstrate that we once again adhered to our budget responsibilities. And as a result of that, that was the bridge that we needed to get back on track and to establish that while we had that blemish,
Hmm.
our, our total budget record was far more consistent than the bankruptcy. And so when a lot of people would have had to face other challenges within a 7-year window, we were back on track within 7 months.
Wow. So you're saying that because your track record was impeccable prior to the
Bankruptcy.
bankruptcy, but
Yes.
because of the health matters, that
Yes.
type of it wasn't as hardship. It wasn't seen as a big blemish.
It was not seen as a big blemish. And it was not seen as a big blemish, I believe, because of measures that other people were actually taking at that
Hmm.
time that seemed like nightmares to us. At
Hmm.
that time, when we were sitting in the bankruptcy court and we saw people going up in front of the judge, we were shocked and amazed to realize that some of the people that were actually stepping into court were filing not their first bankruptcy, their second bankruptcy, or their third bankruptcy. They were filing their eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th bankruptcy. They were taking full advantage of the system, which has since changed. There are now measures and criteria in place where when you file individual bankruptcy, you can't file a subsequent bankruptcy for at least 7 years. So if you
Okay.
mess up, you mess up. Okay.
Hmm.
Businesses are a little different. But we knew that this wasn't something that we aspired to do, mess up our credit and just take advantage of the system. We had to swallow our pride. We had to do what we felt what was in our best interest. It
Hmm.
was not just our personal decision; it was one that included our kids who realized and knew what we were also doing. And as a result, I think it strengthened our family, and it also made us even that much more conscious as to how we would go about dealing with our budget and our finances.
Okay. I'll ask you a question.
Yes.
How does financial discourse affect? I'm gonna say we're gonna talk about three areas. We're gonna talk about physical,
Uh-huh.
mental, spiritual, and health. So we're gonna
Okay.
talk about how does the lack of money affect our physical, number one, our mental, number two, and our spiritual. So let's just address one at a time. Let's
Okay.
start with um, weight,
Okay.
weight or
Well.
loss, weight or weight loss. I mean,
Okay.
for me personally,
Hmm.
how it affects me is like I figure if I don't have money, if I lose my job or something like that, I won't be able to do as far as weight loss. I might not be able to afford the food that I normally would eat. I might do more. I do a lot of organic. Organic is more money. I might have to do less. I may not be able to afford the best quality food. I may not be able to go to 5-star restaurants. I might have to do a little lack. I might have to stay home and do more cooking. Um, it's a lot of stuff that as far as weight loss. And then sometimes the food the cheapest food is the food that's not the most healthiest food for
Right.
you. So
Right.
I know I don't want to do that for other people who don't really realize, like like I don't want to name names, but the cheapest foods are the food that is the least healthiest for you, and
Right.
that you can gain weight because there's more sugar in it.
Right.
And then you have the fact of stress.
Hmm.
I mean, I know when I stress out, I have to be very mindful because I do stress eating in a minute. I won't be conscious of I'll be to pick up something. I'm like, why did I eat that? I wasn't even hungry. So
Hmm.
stress eating maybe gain weight, and then again, you may lose weight by stress because,
Hmm.
and that's worse because if you sometimes stress, you lose weight. So
Hmm.
what is your take on that? As far as weight, the financial cause weight and or weight gain or weight loss.
I think that when you talk about finances and stress, your
Mm-hmm.
whole world as you have created it comes into play, and one that kind of falls on the individual. If I'm stressed and my money's not right, as you shared, some people may be nervous eaters and they just basically find themselves getting out of a regular healthy pattern of eating. They're eating more junk
Mm-hmm.
because they're not dealing very well adjusting to their financial situation at that time. You've got another group of people who may just forego eating at all and find
Mm-hmm.
themselves losing weight. Whether you're eating or not eating, you're creating a condition whereby your health can be challenged down the road because now that I'm not eating properly or eating non-nutritious foods, blood pressure could be affected.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Other factors could come into play. It could also affect whether or not you're taking your medications possibly as prescribed. Okay. And so I think it contributes to a downward spiral for anyone who was already physically challenged. And at the same time, when you factor in diet, if the diet is not a proper or nutritious diet, then you're talking about a situation that's only going to further fragment your physical health. And again, stress being the key, with people not knowing what measures they may be able to take because of financial challenges.
That's true. That's true. I thought about that too, because maybe it might not be to afford your medicine. But if you have no job,
Right.
it might affect your insurance.
Right.
It might not be able to afford your medicine. You might have to do generic. You might not bypass it, and that's going to spiral into some issue if you can't afford the medicine. That's a whole different thing.
Right.
That's I thought about that too. That's true.
Right.
Okay, so also I read something about stress in marriages. I read that as far as the divorce rate, matter of fact, I read that 44% of marriages fail due to some type of financial problem. What is your take on that?
The 44% may seem high, but in certain instances, it may be underreported. The analogy that I might make is that when a woman is victimized and raped, we already know what the statistics say, but we also know that there are a number of physical and sexual abuse instances that go unreported. I would suggest that with the statistics that we have with regard to financial issues, financial problems, and marital discord, it may be underreported. And I say that for a number of reasons, but specifically with regard to marriage, many religious denominations now emphasize the importance and value of engaging in some type of premarital counseling. And when they emphasize this, one of the things that they are trying to impress upon the couple who is engaged is this whole notion of being equally yoked. Now, with regard to being equally yoked, it's not to say that people are equal, but it is to suggest that they have an understanding that when it comes to different things that they value and that are important in their lives, they may or may not be on the same page, but there has to be at least some level of respect, whereby if we do things differently, we have an understanding as to what our differences are, and we have a means of engaging in a dialogue that is going to be respectful of one another as we continue to make positive pursuits and work our relationship through. Now, you're talking about financial discord. If a person comes into a relationship with a unrealistic expectation that the person I marry is to be able to make sure I can have my hair done, my nails done, this, that, and the other, because they're making, good money, it may make for a problem down the road, especially if situations should arise and their finances are challenged. Then again, on the other hand, you may have situations where two people really love one another, but there's this wide disparity in income. Let's say that the woman is a super professional, making six figures, well respected in her profession, but her husband is blue collar. He makes maybe $100,000 less than she does. I am not here to say that they can't work that relationship, because I know they can, if they are equally yoked, if they have basically not only a love for one another, but I think a respect for one another. And if there is an imbalance, there could be a problem with regard to one being more controlling of the other. There could be an imbalance when it came to social engagement. Certain places I will take you, certain places is almost like I'm solo, you don't exist. These are the types of things that can present themselves when you have financial discord, and that could also come to fruition where we reach an impasse in our relationship, and then it's time for us to go our separate ways.
Okay. So what do you feel about spirituality as far as how does financial affect, this tithing and spirit in this spiritual realm?
Spirituality, I think, is, at least from a personal standpoint, very important. Spirituality for me personally in my situation was one that helped us get over many crises. It was the foundation that helped my wife and I carry our cross to succeed. And there's no way that I could put a dollar sign on what my spirituality did for us. When you're talking about two individuals who, once again, are attracted to one another, there may be reason to take into account whether or not they are spiritually yoked with regard to spirituality. And that's not to say that they have to be of the same religion, same denomination. If they both value their spirituality or their religion, do they have between them mutual respect for what you believe and how you worship? For, in conjunction with the religion that you're associated with. Are we of the same accord with regard to how we might view tithing? Because some people view tithing as, I've got to make sure that regardless of whatever I make, I'm putting my 10% in the basket each month. Does tithing also, is it limited to monies? Does tithing also include doing good deeds outside of church? Can you or your partner factor into other good deeds and other measures that you might take, that you do out of the kindness of your heart, that would fall into the whole umbrella of tithing? These are the types of things that, if they're not made clear at the front end of a marriage, could cause for disruption down the road. Again, when monies are tight, and also taking into considerations that even though you may be pressed from your pastor or the church that you attend for not being able to keep pace with what you agreed to do when financial situations arise, you've got to make certain decisions that serve in your best interest, but at the same time, clearly articulate that, hey, I'm doing the best I can with the finances that I can. And sometimes some families, some individuals, some couples have come to the realization that while I have been involved, maybe since birth, at a religious church to receive the word, the message that is now being conveyed has more to do with dollars and cents than it does about spreading the good news. So that couple might make some decisions to look elsewhere to feed their soul.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about your opinion on debit card versus cash?
I think with where I am, I'm a senior citizen. So therefore, I qualify that by saying I'm a baby boomer. The baby boomers are now a certified senior citizen. Okay, we come from that era where cash was king, because cash preceded credit cards. Okay, which have now over a period of time led to other types of digital currency, including debit cards. So the first thing I would say and qualify is by suggesting that use whatever works for you, and use whatever is going to help you be consistent in your quest to budget, to save money, as well as to accumulate wealth. I think that long after I'm gone, long after you're gone, there will be a situation where the majority of people will no longer use cash. Everything will be some type of alternative currency or digital currency. But I would also say that where we are today in the 21st century, I think it's important to be what I call smart consumers. Smart consumers to the extent that when I go, if I have a car to get gas, should I see the big sign that says you pay one price for gas if you are using cash, and you pay another price if you're using a card? Which one will I use to make sure that I pay less for what I need? If you can get to the habit of recognizing that, then you can also make, I think, some smart decisions with what works best for you. If at the gas station I can pay less for gas using cash, that's what I'm going to do. And for me personally, that works for me. At the same time, let's say that, I also frequent for certain items, I go to the dollar store. At the dollar store, particular ones that I go to, there may be a issue for persons that are using their debit card where they have been informed there's going to be an additional fee to use that card versus an individual that uses cash. And the reason is that the business owner does not want to pay full service fee for utilizing the credit card or debit service. He's going to pass that on to the consumer. Smart consumer is going to have cash on hand to save monies to not have to pay an additional expense for using the digital card. And so, there are different things I think that come into play, regardless of whether you use the card or whether you use gas. When it comes to just driving, if you are a person who does most of your shopping and other transactions, makes other transactions on the weekends, your day off or whatever, during the week or whatever, and it just so happens that you keep a list of things to do each day, you may decide that rather than to make singular stops at different destinations and come back home, it would serve in your best interest to save gas, to identify in what region can you make several of those transactions, several of those different stops at one time, so that then you can come home with the idea too that before I get home, I'm going to top my gas tank off, and I'll top it off because it's quarter tank from full, then to continue just to drive. And when I do decide to go to the station, it's a quarter tank from empty. I think, what it comes down to is people developing different habits that are going to help them be not only smarter, but to realize that, hey, it's best and in my best interest to expend my monies, however I use them, in smaller increments than it is to wait until I got to do it because there's no other alternative. You take into consideration too regions of the country where people live. You're on a quarter tank of gas. They're talking about in our region tonight and also tomorrow heavy snow. Now it won't happen here in DC, but in south of Washington it will. For that person who is accustomed to only having a half tank of gas most of the time, and now we're talking about extreme winter weather, and you think you have a half tank of gas most of the time, only to get into your car and it won't stop. You may have, because of condensation, a half tank of water. So therefore, what you must do is to now get a can, fill up the car, put in dry gas so that it'll start. Otherwise, when you get it towed, you're talking about a situation where the mechanic is going to say, well, it's going to cost you more because the car didn't have gas in it than it would have you kept the car at least halfway full. So, they're just different things, different tips that can help people save a few coins here, a few coins there that can, accumulate, whether it's, again, using the card or whether it's using cash.
Well, FYI, it's $1.50 to use the debit card at Dollar Tree, just in case you wanted to know. Because I look at it like, nah, I'll go someplace else. I won't do that. Right. One last thing. What's your take on bankruptcy?
Bankruptcy, I think, is something that definitely is serious, number one. And as I said, from the time that my wife and I had to file for bankruptcy in the early 90s, the laws and the rules have changed. I know right now with everything that's going on here in the area and with different executive orders talking about we're going to slash this and slash that, one of the things that's on the table that was a protection for consumers was whether or not they're going to eliminate, I believe it's the Consumer Federal Protection Board, which actually provides consumers with certain protections as to what collectors can and can't do if they're behind in paying bills and other protections. I bring them up because when you're talking about bankruptcy now, there was a time when bankruptcy covered a lot more with regard to protections than it will today. People that file for bankruptcies may qualify, but they may be financially responsible for certain things that my wife and I were not responsible for before. The other thing I think is this too, that it's important, I think, that when a person is in a financial predicament that could call for them to consider and weigh bankruptcy, one of the things that they may want to do is to talk to a legal specialist, person that specializes in bankruptcy. He or she may direct them to some type of certified debt release program that can intervene for that individual or couple, negotiate with their creditors, establish a plan whereby they can not only get certain bills and expenses reduced, but also come up with a game plan where it is understood based on this agreement that is being made, X amount of dollars are going to be paid each month until we can get these bills down. Sometimes a person who is in that position working for those types of programs can also get thousands of dollars reduced based on, the amounts that are outstanding. Sometimes those outstanding amounts have more to do with late fees than they had to do with actually making the transaction. And I go so far as to say that at least up until last year, I can't speak for this year, the Internal Revenue Service also had a situation where, while you may have had outstanding taxes that were due over a large period of time, they would negotiate with persons who would approach them and say, look, we've been dating one another unconditionally for the last 15 years. I haven't liked you, and I know you haven't liked me. However, I've got a lump sum of money here. It may not match what you say I owe, but if I give you this lump sum of money, can we cut the cord and go our separate ways? And IRS would take into consideration things like that, and in certain instances actually agree to it. So there are different measures that can be taken. I think, when it comes to bankruptcy, bankruptcy may end up actually being a last resort. And even when that is the case, it should be something that, everybody can kind of resign themselves to and explore all alternatives that would address their situation.
Okay. Well, we're going to wind it down a little bit. Is there anything else you want to add, any tidbits that you want to add that may help us in mental, spiritually, physically, with our stress factor? Anything else you want to add to that before we bring it on home?
I would simply say this, particularly for families, and I base it on my personal experience with my wife and my daughters. It was a family effort. We didn't hide the fact, and our kids, were well aware of the fact that when we were going through financial hardships, they understood. It's funny how sometimes adults want to conceal certain things, keeping or forgetting that kids in many ways are resilient, and they will heal sometimes a lot quicker than the adults will. The only thing they want to know is, are we still going to be together regardless of where we got to go, where we got to live, or who we got to live with, And also, I think that if in fact, as a family, you're actually addressing certain issues and concerns that arise around finances, it does two things. Number one, it lets the children see firsthand we have a problem, but it also helps them to see firsthand mom and dad are doing certain things to try to make this thing go away. And they're not trying to hide from people. They're still answering the phone. Okay. And hey, answer the phone. Yeah, don't answer the phone. But all I'm saying is that when the family is collectively involved, the kids come to understand, and at the same time, I think it establishes an environment where whatever corrective measures are going to be taken, the kids are going to pay close attention to them because we're dealing with it. And also, as the parents learn how to overachieve and overcome their situation, kids also, if they include them and incorporate them in this, are also going to teach and learn these things, so that in time, once we reach a posture where, hey, we finally got out the hole, we're budgeting now, we're able to actually pay the bills on time, now we're able to actually put some money aside and do some other things, teach the kids this, so that when they learn and get their hands involved, directly involved, that they'll be able to pass this on to their kids, and it'll become just a regular way of child development. You know, that we've been trying to do this thing in schools. Like I said, it's a dilemma now as to whether or not they're going to pursue it, but that should not be something that stops parents from doing what they know is going to serve in their child's best interest, and in our case, in their financial best interest.
I love that. I love that because you're right. A lot of adults do hide their things from
Mm-hmm.
children, and I do agree with that. And it's really, I guess it's really positive if you answer the phone, people do call you like the collector for something. I know people have that caller ID. I don't know you, so you're probably the debt collector. I don't talk to you right now. I don't have the mindset. So that's true. It is really positive, really good and smart thing to just own it and be honest, sit down
Mm-hmm.
with them and work out something that way. It's better for everybody to just
Right.
own it and go through it and just what you have to do to be to
Right.
be an adult. That's you made the bills, you got to pay them. That's just the way it is. So I
Mm-hmm.
do I do thank you for educating, telling us about children. 'Cause that's something that a lot of people do not do when
Mm-hmm.
they don't involve children. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
the educator, so I appreciate that very much. So I
Mm-hmm.
want to thank you for coming this evening. Before I go, I want to tell everybody how they can contact you if they have any financial issues or comments they want to talk to you about. How do they contact you?
Well, let me just let everybody know that every Wednesday at
Mhm.
5:30, I do a weekly podcast, Eastern Standard Time, called Dollars and Cents on Instagram and on Facebook. The S's are all in the form of a dollar sign. Okay.
Mhm.
But on the podcast, what we attempt to do is to help people to develop the skills and learn the skills to budget successfully, as well as to learn how to master their monies and gain clarity with regard to their finances. If you want to get in touch with me,
Yeah.
I would suggest that if you went on Facebook, you can reach me at Anthony Smith on Facebook, or you can reach me on Facebook at Tony Smith's Dollars and Cents. If you direct message me, I definitely will get back in touch with you so that we can set up some time, talk about what your situation is, come up with some ideas as to how we might be able to, offset some of the things that you're dealing with. And I would strongly encourage you to continue to rally every week and come to
Mhm.
dial into Dollars and Cents. One of the things that has been interesting, I know that I have appreciated just watching Dawn do her thing with Stay Sexy Wellness, which I
Oh, thank
also
you.
attempt to do with Dollars and Cents. People, I think, are coming to realize that even though we may feel isolated in our dilemmas,
Mhm.
when more and more people hear your story, when more and more people hear that, okay, well, this guy, this lady, they're talking about certain things, good information, but how they know about me? We know about you because we were once you.
Yes, sir.
And at the same time, while we were once you, we continue to be you. We're just a few steps ahead. That's all.
Yeah, you're right.
And while we're a few steps ahead, we can provide you with certain information, certain knowledge, certain footprints that you may find beneficial in your quest to
Mhm.
overcome and overachieve.
Thank you. And I'm looking forward to that masterclass, sir.
Oh
Let
yeah,
us let us
yeah,
know when it's
it's
coming.
coming. It's coming sooner than later. And
Yeah.
know folks that hey, the master class will be free with
Mhm.
much more information. We on Wednesdays we provide you pretty much with highlights, but the master class is going to be meat and potatoes.
Okay. Looking forward to that. I'd like to thank you, Mr. Smith, for coming out and just dropping out your knowledge of your financial that's your area of finance. And I like to say thank you, everybody, and how you. I'm just I don't know how to think. Yeah, so much. Got so much nugget. My head's spinning. But yeah, I want to thank you for coming out and sharing with you, sharing with us. I'm sorry. I tell you, my head's spinning. I can't even think right now. So as far as say good night for Mr. Anthony. See you tonight. See you when I see you. No, you're ahead of me at 5:30, and I'm at 9. So
Right.
I'll see you next week. So say good night to Mr. Anthony. Tonight, see you later. And thank you. I appreciate you coming out, brother. I really appreciate it. I should have loved.
I want
I
to
do.
definitely thank you for the invite.
It was my pleasure.
Mhm.
All right. So As far as me, if you want to contact me with anything about health, and if you receive, I'm not going to say if you receive any value from our guests this evening, please drop a value in the comment section. Anything was relatable, please drop the R for relatable. And if you have anything you want to talk about as far as health and wellness, you can DM me and I'll be happy to contact you and give you my link and we can have a one-on conversation.
Mm-hmm.
As far as Mr. Smith, he said the same thing for him.
Yep.
So from both of us, I like to say um, good evening and stay well and healthy, but stay sexy wellness as far as well as dollars and cents. And good evening.
All righty. Thank you.
Thank you.